Ghanaians woke up to the news that Parliament has been reconvened from their hiatus to consider this Chinese Development Bank facility. Now, just how massive a boost is this particular facility? How is it going to transform the lives of Ghanaians? Because it will not be the first time that some support has come in terms of financing for projects. But what is different with this particular facility?
Thank you very much, and a very good evening to our cherished listeners and viewers. We must say that this is a monumental sum of money which will be flowing into the country once we are able to get Parliament to approve this loan agreement. Just to backtrack a bit, if you recall, when we assumed office in January 2009, most of the MPP criticism was that instead of us pumping money into the system and stimulating the economy, I even recall Dr. Caucus saying that whereas Barack Obama was stimulating the US economy, we were embarking on contractionary fiscal policies. I remember the MPP communication guys kept on referring to the Keynesian theory, pump more money into the system, pump more money into the system. But we were a very focused government because we appreciated the fact that the economy that we had inherited was in an intensive care, to quote the finance minister. When we say this, it is backed by concrete facts and figures. If you recall, at the time that we assumed office, inflation was hovering around 18%. It even went up to 22% thereabout. At that time, even when Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa had made mention of the fact that the security agencies were to arrest the vehicles that had been stolen by the former government functionaries, they were asking that instead of us arresting inflation, we are rather arresting these vehicles. Luckily enough, through prudent economic management of our Minister of Finance, his two able deputies, and the economic management team, we have been able to stabilize the fiscal environment and have even dropped inflation to a single digit. What this means is that this is the time that when we are embarking on a Keynesian theory, by injecting more capital into the system, the economy is not going to be unnecessarily overheated. Hence, this $3 billion facility. I wish Sheikh Isikwe could be brought back to describe how big this money is. Because if $500 million, the Millennium Challenge account, the manner in which he dramatized it, then I'm just wondering how this would have been dramatized. The projects are very, very key. You remember that Professor R.P. Bafo, Fritz Bafo's father, spoke about the integrated aluminium industry. You cannot have that industry flourish if the railway system is not functioning properly. You are very much aware that under the previous administration, we had almost a total halting of the railway industry, even to the point that some coaches were procured without having the appropriate rail lines to run on. In this loan agreement, we are having a situation where when you go to the Western region, the Western Corridor Infrastructure Renewal Project is going to have a railway line retrofit that is from Takoradi to Kumasi, Dunkwa to Awaso. That is the scenario 1 retrofit. And this is going to cost $500 million with a government of Ghana contribution of $75 million. The project developer is going to be the Ghana Railway Development Authority, with a supervisory body being the Ministry of Transport. Felix, if I'm to relate this to the 10% request from the chiefs and people of the Western region regarding what they were going to derive from the hydrocarbon proceeds, you realize that even for the year 2011, all that government of Ghana is going to make from the hydrocarbon proceeds is just about $600 million. 10% of that was going to be $60 million. Here we are, just talking about railways, $500 million is going to be pumped into the Western region regarding the railway sector, linking it to the Ashanti region.
Well said, Dr. Mani. So the railway sector will receive major capital injection in order to revamp it and save it from the sorry situation it is in at this particular moment. But tell us, what other projects are we going to see happen in view of the fact that we are getting this money?
The good thing is, when you develop the railway sector, then the integrated aluminium industry that as a country we have been talking about can flourish. Okay. This is because you are not going to cut your alumina through the normal system that we know. After you have extracted your bauxite and all that, you need a railway system to carry it. Luckily enough, we have the oil and gas industry, which is also picking up. Through this, we are going to be able to develop our oil and gas industry that is going to give cheaper power. When we have derived the cheaper power, that will be used in the processing of the aluminium that will be extracted from bauxite. The good thing about it is it also has a good effect on the salt industry, because you need sodium hydroxide in the extraction of aluminium from bauxite. The chloride aspect of salt, because salt is made up of sodium and chlorine, the chloride aspect of salt will also feed into the petrochemical industry. Okay. So clearly, just looking at the railway sector, we have been able to serve, one, the aluminium industry. Is it by coincidence or careful planning that as we speak today, the Vice President opened the long rundown Ghana Consolidated Diamond Limited in Akwatia today as we speak? It is because the investors know that the Mills administration is doing the right thing. We are putting the right infrastructure in place for them to be able to make much more gains out of their capital investment within that particular sector.
Now, Honorable Deputy Minister for Finance, I want you to apprise viewers of exactly what has been done in preparation towards receiving this kind of capital injection, because we do know that in times past, loans, very expensive commercial loans were contracted, for which no feasibility study whatsoever had been done by the MPP, and yet these monies came and were used for purposes other than what they should have been used in any prudent economy. I want you to tell us what the NDC government has done to assure Ghanaians that when this money comes, it will be used strictly for projects that would benefit the ordinary Ghanaian. I will later ask you to go into the details about how we as a country are going to manage this particular facility and the terms inherent in the agreement that was reached with the China development. But first, take the preparation that has been done to receive this particular financing agreement.
All right. Thank you so much, Felix, and good evening to all your very many viewers across the nation and beyond. It's a pleasure to be here again. Let me just briefly say that, I mean, this actually is an occasion for Ghana to be joyful. Very many countries all over Africa and in the developing world will literally have been jumping, I mean, into frenzy had this opportunity been available to them. Okay, so many countries are watching us with admiration. I mean, for the fact that we actually even are worthy, okay, for any nation, I mean, to want to commit as much as $3 billion into our economy. I mean, that's absolutely super, especially in a time when the whole world is virtually reeling in crisis, you know, where capital is flying away from Europe, flying away from America, because there is no confidence at all. That's a time when Ghana is emerging as a shining star, because very many people across the world have seen something which unfortunately some of us in Ghana maybe are not seeing, or we are seeing it, but because it's not happening under our purview, we wish we would scuttle it. I mean, the same way, for instance, many people saw Ghana in 1957 as a nation that clearly was primed for independence.
Yeah,
but there was a group,
and
there was a group that was determined to scuttle that because they were not in the saddle. The same way a lot of people saw a huge opportunity for industrialization of Ghana by the early 60s. And therefore, there was confidence enough to want to finance Akosombo Dam. But there was a group that sent delegation all the way to America to scuttle that, because as long as they are not in the saddle, they are not in authority, nothing positive, nothing progressive must happen. And that's exactly what it is we are seeing again today. Now, do we have the capacity to be able to take these loans? Exactly. We certainly have. Because the economy in 2011 is not even what the economy was in 2001, 2002. But do you remember the celebration that was greeting the Parliament of Ghana when the NPP was going for the hairdressing salon loan? Exactly. I remember specifically J.H. Mensah declaring on the floor of Parliament that the NDC is shell-shocked. The word.
Shell-shocked.
Shell-shocked.
Because
we're bringing in $1 billion.
Maybe we're shell-shocked because it was sourced from a hairdressing salon.
Exactly. They were bringing $1 billion, and we were shell-shocked. We were envious. And remember, that $1 billion that MPP was talking about in the year 2000, I think 2002 or so, they had not even submitted feasibility studies. They don't even have an idea what project they had in mind if that $1 billion was made available. They did not. As opposed to ours, that we have actually taken the steps, not just to apprise the nation of what it is we propose to do, but we also are talking of priorities that are totally transformational in the way it can affect the economy of Ghana. Okay, and submitted the feasibility study to Parliament. Let the people of Ghana know the areas, the range of areas that we want to be able to put in this financing. And still in all this transparency, in spite of all this clarity, there is still a clamor, there's a hue and cry that the country should not go for 3 billion. Now, we can't go for 3 billion in 2011. A nation that is now an oil-producing nation. A nation whose GDP has just totally been boosted by virtue of the rebasing. And therefore, it's a much bigger economy. A nation that by virtue of being an oil economy is now moving into a realm of accelerated growth. If a nation in 2011 cannot take 3 billion, how on earth were they justifying the $1 billion hairdressing salon loan in 2002? So the people of Ghana therefore should just see the level of double standards, the extreme levels of hypocrisy, and the anti-development agenda that our friends on the other side have. You see, there is nothing to be hidden about this. This is not rocket science. All the noise about Ghana is not prepared for 3 billion is just nothing but what you call subterfuge. It's the same typical, what's the word again? Red herrings that they are throwing. Okay, it's a ruse, it's a strategy to just scuttle it because they believe that if they scuttle theirs, somehow their chances of coming back to power will be enhanced. Bottom line is all down to politics. That's what it is. Are we prepared? We are much more than prepared. We are much, much more than prepared. Because this economy is on the cusp of transformation. I mean, we're talking about an economy that, in spite of the difficulties we faced in 2008, we were able to steady the ship. We were able to take the economy from the intensive care unit and bring it into a path of hope. By 2010, growth had been restored. Okay? So we're talking about posting 7.7% growth of GDP in 2010. That's completely unheard of in this country.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
In 2011, you know, and I know, and the world knows exactly the levels of growth Ghana is talking about. And that is not what you call a flash in the pan. We're talking about consistency. Because the 2010 was done before the advent of oil. 2011, even though it's largely on the back of oil, it is not just simply an issue of oil, because we are talking about the spillover onto the broader segment of the economy. Agriculture is having it, construction is having it, it's being seen across various sectors of the economy. You understand? So this is an economy that you cannot by any means say is not prepared to take $3 billion investment.
All right, having said that, now critics have posited that the terms of this loan are too expensive for a country like Ghana to bear. They have also claimed that we have entered into some dubious arrangement with the Chinese that would literally hand over our oil purse to them, as it were, so that they could take out any amount they want as and when they pleased. Whereas we have been obliged to do this. The Chinese have no obligation whatsoever to fulfill their part of the bargain. I want you to clarify this so that our viewers have an understanding of exactly what the terms of this loan are and how favorable it is for us as a country.
I mean, first and foremost, let's do a quick comparison between the terms of this particular loan and the $750 million that the NPP contracted in 2007. I don't need to let the country know that even that particular facility was constructed at the time when NPP did not have one feasibility study that was prepared. Neither did they submit it to Parliament. But still they were able to get that money. And no wonder the money was used the way it was, because there was no proper, what you call, framework to be able to guide the usage of the money. Now that was facility that was constructed for a period of 10 years, 10 short years for payment. No moratorium. I mean, there's not like it's going to take you 2-3 years of moratorium, then you start paying. No, immediately it hits itself. Whether you are using it for what it's meant for or not, we are servicing it. And you are paying 8.5% interest. 8.5%. I mean, that's very expensive. This facility is not costing 8.5%. It's not also a 10-year facility. It's a 15-year facility. That gives you moratorium. So you can't, by any stretch of imagination, say that this facility is more expensive than what it was the NPP peak in 2007. Besides, if you take a good look at the list of projects that my good brother Omani had just walked you through, you will notice that quite a lot of those projects are projects that on their own generate back returns to be able to pay back the loan. It's not, for example, like taking precious money and go and buy not just prepaid meters. Prepaid meters is locomotives where you don't even have railway tracks. Or use some of it to pay salaries of workers. You understand? That's not what it is. This is vital projects that totally transform not just the infrastructure, but bring about the process of acceleration of the growth of the economy. And it generates back, it yields back returns to be able to knock off, retire the finance. If this is not good, what else can be better?
Well, thank you very much for the answer. But I wish to remind viewers that you can join us on text line 1462 across all networks. And also you can join us on Facebook on facebook.com/multi-TV-world. And now, Dr. Maniwama, you gave an indication of what projects this particular facility will be used to finance. You spoke about the gas infrastructure project. You spoke about the railway, the Western Corridor Railway Line modernization project, and what have you. But looking through the list, it does appear that there is some good news for those involved in the agricultural sector. For instance, there's the Accra Plains irrigation project, and then there's something for people along the coast, our fishermen. Can you throw more light on these projects and how it will benefit those engaged in that particular kind of activity?
Clearly, most governments have been promising to mechanize agriculture in the country with particular emphasis on the Accra Plains. Unfortunately, what has been lacking has been the resource to be able to translate the promise into practice. This loan agreement gives Ghana the opportunity to translate that age-long promise into practice. Government is looking at spending $100 million in the Accra Plains for irrigation. And my brother, if you can look at the amount of rice production, vegetables, including things like cabbage and all that, that can be produced in that part of the country, it will be very clear that the issue of unemployment of the larger chunk of the people on the streets and all that, who are ready and willing to go into sustainable jobs that can give them decent living, most of them are likely to relocate to this point. In fact, I'm very, very convinced that if the MPP had been much more creative and had gotten this kind of money, the teeming number of youth that they registered in the year 2001 with the hope of offering them employment and only ended up offering employment to the people who registered the unemployed youth would have been relocated. 1 million. Yeah, 1 million of them. The only people who were employed were those who wrote down the names. They could have resettled to this place for sustainable employment opportunities. In this country, the MPP in 2000 promised that they were going to cut down our bill on importation of rice. By the time they were leaving office, it had almost tripled or quadrupled. If we are able to get this right, and because we have not rushed into this, because the feasibility studies have been done and all that, and because we are not even taking the entire Accra Plains, but we are taking just a section of it, we will get it right. This, together with the Aveime Rice project, which they only concentrated on jailing former NDC appointees, and only at the end of their term of office that they sought to do some activity on it, we will be able to reduce our import bill on rice. The next thing has to do with our fishing communities. Our landing sites, one of their major challenge has to do with storage facilities. The story is told that even sometimes when they have bumper catch, some of them have to even deliver some of their outputs into the sea just because they will not be able to store. When we have been able to situate these cold storage facilities, when we have been able to develop the landing sites, through this, when we have been able to provide other alternative sources of livelihood for the people who are living in the coastal communities.
I'll come back for you to throw more light on this particular subject. But I want at this point to take some messages that have come from our viewers. Now, Idris Mustafa says, I am very elated for the facelift the loan will do to the people of Western region. The economic value of the intended projects is laudable. This gesture will generate employment and income. This is a clear example of investing in people as promised by the president, I beg your pardon. Now, Jarvis Avoka also writes, government shouldn't expect the opposition to welcome development programs with applause, which is regrettable anyway. Are we going to see an extension of the railway network inland, i.e. northern Ghana? My panelists will help address that. Dixon from Laura also sent in this. Felix, why do you think Ghanaians should vote for the NDC in 2012 after your collapsing social interventions, high cost of living, no jobs for the youth, high road tolls, LPG shortages, insensitive taxes, high school fees, and bad roads? Well, I can assure you that those things that you listed are not necessarily accurate, because my panelists have told you exactly what this government has done over the last few years. There are challenges that continue to be addressed on a daily basis. So such pessimistic views, of course, it is synonymous with the MPP, whose only agenda is to create as much doubt and as much discord within society as possible. But another person also sent in this. MPP should stop deceiving Ghanaians. They don't have any good things for Ghanaians than to spoil our economy. Long live Ghana, long live NDC, from better Ghana. Wow. Richmond Odum Bedu also says, you guys are not serious, always loans. Why? Well, when your party took $750 million at a colossal 8.5% interest rate, I didn't hear you complain about and wasted it. I didn't hear you complain about loans. This will improve the lives of Ghanaians, as clearly articulated by my panelists. Now, Papal also says, Felix, tell Ghanaians why we should vote for the NDC in 2012 after the inflation and increment of products. Well, inflation is at an all-time low. Your party failed to do that. Now, Desiree also writes, Felix, it's often said that the fly that does not take advice follows the corpse down the grave. The minority advised the NDC on the STS shoddy deal, and they refused to listen. The NDC will go down the grave with the Koreans, and Ghanaians will bury them in 2012. I am not too sure that if you want advice on how to contract a loan for a project, you go to the MPP. The Honorable Fifi Kote just told you that they got one from a hairdressing salon, so that should provide food for thought for members of the MPP like you who want to put spokes in the wheels of the development. Dr. Manuwama, just before you went off, you were telling us about some of the projects along the coast with specific emphasis on fishing activities. This project will be used for
just at places like Axim, Discov, Elmina, Winneba, Momford, Senya Breku, Jamestown, Teshin, Tema, Ada, Keta. All these are going to benefit from 150 million. Yeah. Then there is the Eastern Corridor Multimodal Transportation Project, which involves upgrade of Volta Lake ferries, pontoons and landing sites, This will take place at Pando, Amankwa Krom, Ketekrache, Kwado Krom, Yeji, Makongo, Tapa, Abotoase, Gemini. Felix, this project is not going to discriminate between Ghanaians who are MPP and Ghanaians who are NDC or from any other political party. It is true that historically, the MPP tradition, the UP tradition, has been on the opposite side of Ghanaian interest when it comes to development. It will only be fair to the good people of Ghana who have voted massively for the 1992 experiment, the democracy that we are enjoying today, that the MPP only does the right thing by supporting this 3 billion loan agreement. Just a letter on some of the text messages. Look, the NDC is a very tolerant political party. You recall the day that the flag bearer of the MPP came to this studio. I think that was last week, Monday or so. I hardly saw any text message or Facebook messages being read in the course of that program. Was it that people were not interested in commenting on some of the views that their flag bearer had put out there? Another person also made mention of gas. Is the person aware that as we speak, the largest tranche of gas ever to have arrived in Ghana, bet today, 14,000 metric tons, that is discharging over a period of 8 days. We are saying that we have a challenge which did not just arise in Ghana in the year 2009 when we assumed office. The MPP could have done something about it. They failed and refused to do something about it. We are fixing it. They should join us in fixing it. If they cannot join us, they should just sit aside and watch us fix it, both in the short term, the medium term, and the long term.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Honorable Kwete, how true is it that you've presented this loan agreement to Parliament in an omnibus fashion, and you have taken away the rights of Parliament to scrutinize the details of loan agreements that are brought before them? I mean, this particular allegation has been made by the propaganda unit of the MPP. In case you are wondering, that's the Dankwa Institute. The Dankwa Institute. Ata Kennedy make that clear in his book. Now, how do you respond to that particular allegation? Is it true that you want to stifle Parliament and prevent it from asserting its authority with regards to scrutinizing loan agreements that are brought before it? Because you've lumped everything together and brought it to them.
You know, sometimes you wonder how you're supposed to be making a response to our friends in the MPP. I mean, what kind of desperation is this? What level of desperation is this? I mean, you go and say to $750 million, okay? More expensive loan, 8.5%, to be paid in a shorter period of 10 years. You never even had the presence of mind to present one feasibility study, let alone to tell the country the particular project you intended to use the money for. Nobody had a problem. Because we thought you were prudent enough as a government in power to use that money to be able to transform the infrastructure of Ghana as you claim you were going to do. We have gone the extra mile of not just bringing to you the broad agreement, but also the specific projects, gone beyond that to give you the feasibility studies of every single one of those projects. So what is the problem? What is the problem? The problem is that what? We have to, as it were, come to you with project 1. Then you go through finance committee, then you take it to Parliament, then you go and vote for it. Then we wait for project 2. Why? Why do we have to do that? Because these projects are actually going to take different times to be concluded. So it's important for you to be able to start them off. Those of them that's going to take 5 years, let them take the 5 years to complete it. Those of them that can be completed within a year, let it happen. Because at the end of the day, the people of Ghana are thirsty for development. The nation itself cannot wait to have this gas infrastructure in place. It's critical. Because if we are not able to fix that gas infrastructure, very soon we are going to start having difficulties with even the production of the Jubilee field. So it's important. But you know what? NPP doesn't care a hoot. If this is scuttled and the gas project doesn't come on stream and Jubilee is affected, I almost dare to say they will be celebrating. Because as far as they are concerned, the well-being of the people of Ghana is not their priority. The same way they could oppose every single thing that was positive for Ghana, including the independence of Ghana, Ghana becoming a unitary state, which they opposed as NLM. You remember that? They opposed the construction of the Kosovo Dam. They opposed even the constitution, the 1992 constitution, which today they are running all over the place and quoting and so on. They opposed even that one. That should tell you that everything progressive and anything positive, they will oppose. What needs to be done for Ghana must be done for Ghana. What needs to give the people of Ghana joy must be done. You, for example, have heard the celebration all over Teshi today. I mean, for people who are saying the speed with which that road has been, I mean, the traffic that has been eased, the joy in the hearts of the people, that is the kind of thing we need to do across the length and breadth of Ghana. From western region to eastern region to the northern part of Ghana down to Greater Accra, we should be able to bring development and transformation. That brings joy, that accelerates the economy. That puts us on a path of accelerated growth. But of course, our friends don't want that. And the reason why they don't want that is because, you see, the more you accomplish this, the more you nail their political coffin. Too bad. We will nail it.
What about concerns raised over debt sustainability? Some have indicated that this kind of facility, as huge as it is, will only serve to increase our debt portfolio and make it difficult for the country to sustain its repayment over any extended period of time. How do you address such a concern?
You know, sometimes when you hear some of those analyses, it's almost as though the presumption is that while your debt is going up, somehow your economic growth and your GDP is remaining at a standstill. But that's not the way it works. So you have a debt on one side, you have the economic growth on one side. Now, I can understand if their concern was that these projects are not transformational enough. And therefore, we don't see how these projects are going to affect the growth of the economy and therefore bring about what you call accelerated economic transformation and development. If that was their concern, then we can discuss that concern and see how it is that we could look for projects that will be much more transformational. But listen, you just walk through the project list for you.
Development.
I mean, this is absolute transformational in the nature of transformation of any economy. The agriculture is being affected, rail is being affected, gas, which has so much transformational capacity, is being done. Then you can go through the several other projects. The fishing communities are going to be revamped. The economic activity down those coastal beaches and raising income levels and taking our people out of poverty is being done. And then somebody says, oh, you know what, you are going to increase debt and we are going to become highly indebted. No. We actually are bringing a process where instead of continuing to grow at 4%, we can go beyond the 7.7% we achieved last year. We are talking now about over 14%, I mean, when everything goes on stream, and we want to make sure we remain in that single digit of growth on an annual basis. And to be able to do that, it's not a rocket science. Everybody in the world knows that if you want to do that, you need to invest in infrastructure. Yeah. But don't forget, we are talking also about MPP. MPP, whose flag bearer, I mean, has been on promising or the transformation of Ghana into the state of Brazil. Okay? Now, for you to achieve that state of Brazil, you must do what Lula da Silva did. And what did he do? He invested heavily in infrastructure. And how did he do that? He raised financing to be able to do so. And he did not raise $100 million. He was raising billions of dollars. In fact, they actually went to the step of collateralizing the reserves of their oil, meaning what is not even being explored. Well, now today MPP has a problem because we actually are talking about collateralization of what we are producing. Lula da Silva, who is their hero, their mentor, I mean their icon, was collateralizing reserves that are not even yet explored.
And it is an irony that he is their mentor because the man has socialist credentials.
Social democratic.
That should tell you about what you call political convenience. I mean whenever it's convenient for them, then they switch.
Exactly.
But clearly, everybody knows they don't really belong to that path.
A bundle of contradictions.
And again, for me,
but we will come back to continue. So we'll come back to continue. We'll take a short break. But let me read a few text messages.
I was saying that
now,
really,
give us gas and stop blaming.
We need to be able to
address that,
regardless of what parties we belong to. You see, we were in opposition for 8 years, okay? And for those 8 years, NPP was in the saddle. Now, you allow them to do the best they can for that period. You don't literally go into prayer camps and virtually praying for development to be rolled back in order for you to come to power. It's this. Do the best you can. But at the end of the day, let me tell Ghanaians that this is the best you could do, but I can do better than you.
All right,
that should be the politics.
Let's pick Red from Tamale. Welcome to the program, Red.
Thank you very much, my good brothers.
Yeah, I hope you are not the notorious Red who was firing guns in Tamale in 2004.
What, firing guns in where?
In Tamale in 2004, but just forget about it and go on with your submission.
Why you want to defend yourself? Hello?
Yeah, please go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, what I have this evening in Majority Caucus, let us be honest in our economy. You understand? There are so many propaganda in our economy now. And we, the young politicians in this country, let us demonstrate to the evidence that in the absence of the others, we can manage our economy in this country. I can understand where Fifi is coming from. Fifi, where is the record state that you people organize in the opposition? Today, Ghanaians are facing problems. You people to leave the Accra and come to the rural areas. Not like leave Accra and come to the rural areas. People are, Ghanaians are suffering.
I'm just
See, now you people have your cars, you're not buying petrol.
Well, Red, stop right there. That is a falsehood that you peddled. Everybody around this table buys petrol. But as for propaganda, again, you can ask Dankwa Institute what they do. They are the ones who do propaganda with economics, like the falsehood that they peddled in their statement about this $3 billion loan. So your advice is best suited for your propaganda units, the Dankwa Institute. Yeah, we have Seth on the line. Welcome to the program, Seth. Oh yeah, we've lost Seth now.
Look, let's truth be told about the economy. Is he aware that some of the things which contributed to the intensive care unit that this economy was at the time we assumed office was because of the reckless over-liberalization of our capital market by the MPP, where they sold over 47% of 3-year fixed bond to foreign interest and about 83% of 5-year fixed bond to foreign interest. Around October 2008, when the global economic crunch got to its peak, they offloaded $145 million and repatriated them out of the country. That was one. The next was
let's pick Awuni from Central Gonja and we'll continue. Welcome to the program, Awuni. Awuni. Well,
yeah, thank you very much for this program.
Yeah, please go ahead with your submission.
In fact, what the MPP has been doing, in fact, we only looking at them. We know what they are capable of doing. If you come down to look at we are always of the view that the devil you know is better than the angel you don't know. Professor Mills has been a vice president and has risen up to the level of the presidency, and still we don't see anything good about him. What about Fado, who is nothing?
I will disagree. Yes, sir. Awuni, I beg your pardon. I will disagree with that comment. I would rather people made very meaningful contributions and refrain from personality attacks. Yao from Mahoi, welcome to the program.
Okay. I don't know the reason why they cut you off.
Yeah, they cut who off? Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm watching and see that you people were off. I don't know why.
Well, it may have been due to a technical difficulty which has been resolved. So go ahead with your submission.
Okay. What I would say is that you people should focus on it and pray. Don't look what the people are doing. Just always pray and concentrate on what you are doing. That's what advice I will give to you people.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Yao. Bawa is on the line. Welcome to the program, Bawa.
Okay.
Yeah, please tell us where you are calling from.
I'm calling from Tunis.
Okay, please go ahead with your submission.
When we calculate numerated number of states AGC has done for the past 3.5 years. In fact, when they asked Madam Ursula, she wouldn't even mention one thing that MPP did for their 3.5 years.
Well, I mean, they brought us pictures of monkeys and other things. So,
they couldn't do anything. And they look at the 3.5 years, what we have been doing. And I think for the next 4 years, we are going to win and win it. We are going to put Nana Akufo-Addo in the coffin so that he will never win any election again, and we will find him.
Political coffin.
Exactly, it must be clarified. Well said. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, Bawa.
Felix, yes, just another bit of how they messed up the economy. Just to artificially present a city that was strong. After the redenomination, they invested $1.2 billion to cushion the city against the major currencies internationally. Still, the city depreciated. You understand? So we are very, very real and honest when we are talking about the kind of economy that we inherited. But you see, the MPP, like I've said, they will always want to be on the opposite side of the interest of Ghanaians. It is shocking that they will even be controlling the 2 Tema seats. The Dankwa-Buzia tradition opposed projects, including the establishment of Tema.
Again.
You understand? Of the Tema Township. Today, they are holding those 2 seats. This is an irony of our history.
Exactly. But I'm sure
and celebrated the Jubilee of Ghana.
I'm sure
pomp
and the Jubilee of Ghana.
I'm sure the people of Tema
they were opposed to the very independence.
I'm sure the people of Tema will be revising their notes.
Make sure there was a coup that messed up the Flagstaff House, rebuilt it in 2008, and changed the name of the Flagstaff House to Jubilee.
Which hardly meant
this is the contradiction that the MPP presents.
No, in very simple terms, to be honest with you, I mean, you know, if you're a bit familiar with the Bible, it's typically what you call Nehemiah NDC trying very hard to rebuild the walls, and Sambalat and Tobias MPP trying very hard to roll back the developments.
Praise the Lord.
That's exactly what is happening here.
Exactly.
They are praying. They are hungering, they are virtually fasting for every negativity to happen, hoping that will bring them to power. But, inshallah.
I mean, a more apt analogy could not have been given.
They will be in the wilderness for a long time.
Exactly. A more apt analogy could not have been given by the Deputy Minister of Finance. But I would at this juncture take a couple of text messages. Felix, who told you the lives of Ghanaians have changed? Our lives have been worse off since 2009. NDC will lose 2012 election. Abu from Wa said that. Abu, you can live in your world of dreams. Dreaming. Justin Ali Baba also writes, NDC government, why? Every time loan, but not grant. Too much loan will collapse our economy. If you ask your economists, they will tell you that our middle income status makes it very, very difficult to continue to access this kind of grants because they expect us to be on our feet, and that is exactly what we want to do. Now, Manuel Parkwesi also writes, the NDC government undertake developmental projects with loans. What are the internally generated funds used for? Oh, NDC, Ghanaians are watching. Honorable Kwete, perhaps he wants us to use the loans to pay the salaries of workers and buy coaches where no real tracks exist, and buy prepaid meters for God knows what purpose and all that. It is extremely bizarre.
He forgets that the single spine policy has put over 60% of public sector workers on the higher wage bill. And that is the over 5,000 laptops that are being distributed free at no cost to the beneficiaries. The science and maths scholarships that are being given out free at no cost to the beneficiaries. The exercise books that are being distributed free. The uniforms, the over 1,000 schools under trees that we inherited, that we have eradicated as we speak now, all came from the internally generated funds.
Well said. A 3 billion loan is only 0.2% of the total indebtedness of the USA, which now stands at an uncomfortable $1.43 trillion. Charles, no, the figure is $14.3 trillion. My people, you are having good plans. Try to implement them quickly. Please, when will government pay my sister and others who finished the UTTBE program and have been working for a year now? I'm sure that will be addressed very soon. The evil that men do lives after them. The MP must acknowledge the astronomical debt they left behind has bad effect on the economy. Joe from Cape Coast sent that in. The MPP is only using the all die be die tactics to prevent the NDC from obtaining their developmental agenda. What a shame. Alex sent in that from the beginning. We Ghanaians thank God for showing us the right path. You people can say whatever you want to say, but the difference is clear. The difference cannot be Nana Akufo-Addo. I cannot imagine that he would be the difference, given the shambolic performance that his party put up when given the opportunity to run the affairs of this country. Please go on and keep informing the good people of Ghana about the great works being carried out all over the place. Beware of those who opposed good things meant for Ghanaians. Exactly. The MPP and its allies are jealous of the successes of the NDC within this short period. Kudos to your panelists. NDC, it dey be keke. Airborne send that in. Now, before we wrap up, 30 seconds. Honorable Fifi, in a nutshell, what should Ghanaians look out for in the coming years from the NDC government in terms of massive inflow of capital like this one?
Now, Ghanaians should expect Prof. Mills to, be true to his words. That he came to invest in people, he came to invest in infrastructure. He came to do that within an accountable system that actually takes it to a higher level. Dr. Mane, by December 2012, when Ghanaians make a decision as to which party should continue to lead them, what should the people who are supposed to benefit from these projects expect?
The people should expect that this is a government that is not coming to tell them that we have solved all your problems. But so far as within our means, what we can do, we will make sure that we do them. The people in the Western region are going to benefit monumentally from this project. People in the Greater Accra region, the Volta region, some parts of the Northern region are all going to benefit from this. And it is our hope that when they go to the polls on December 7, 2012, between Nana Akufo-Addo, or Die Be Die, and President Mills, the Asumdue Hene, they will make the obvious choice. And that obvious choice, I'm very sure, will be President Mills. Will be Nehemiah, who is been the war, and not Sambalat and Tobias, who is back. Who are saying, praise the Lord, they say, all Die Be Die.
Thank you very much.